Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, then hello, my name is Shauna and today we are basically going to go over my birth story, and this is the first time you're seeing me since my last YouTube video, probably 5-6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, when I was heavily pregnant, and now I'm not. So I don't think I actually shown you what my bump looks like before in the final video, maybe not, I don't know. I was a lot bigger than this, but I do still have a bump. And I still am wearing maternity clothes, but also I'm able to fit into some of my other clothes before being pregnant and during my first and second trimester. So I'll keep you updated on that. Maybe we'll do a Q&A at some other point. I am recording this in advance, so it's not going to go out anytime soon. We are in the first week of May, and I just want to record 4 videos in my own time with no pressure so that I can then upload them week by week, and then hopefully kind of batch record and then take my time with recording to regularly upload. But I'm not putting pressure on myself, so you might get this video and then get no videos at all after for a little bit. You might get 4 videos and then there might be a little bit of break. There might be 1 video a month. I'm really not putting pressure onto it. Also, I just want to enjoy the content. I, of course, don't want to, you can hear Paisley, that's her name. I also don't want to waste any time with her, for example, and also want to respect her privacy. So, you know, for example, she's just in a nappy now, so I don't want to get her on camera. I might record a few clips when we go on our walk a little bit later, if I remember, that is. So at some point you will meet her, but I just want to respect her privacy. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And not upload anything that when she's older, if they're still up. I don't want her to be like, Mum, why? That's so embarrassing. Also, this video might be quite choppy because Tom's working at the minute and he's back later, and we've got Kobe who likes to bark when a cat even goes in the back garden. I don't know how he knows when a cat goes in the back garden. And of course, I'm looking after Paisley as well. So it might be a little bit bitty, but I feel like I've got the brain power to sit down and talk about my birth. So let's get into it. So already I've had to feed her, and she's not had the whole bottle. So again, it might be quite choppy. But for those that have never seen any of my videos before, and also some things I wasn't clear about on my final video or my videos running up to giving birth, and some things, yeah, I didn't actually understand myself, and I still don't fully understand some bits myself. But what I do want to say is this is a positive birth story. However, in the moment, at the time, it didn't feel positive because it wasn't planned how it went, and it just felt quite out of control and not right timing for me, but we'll get into that. So for a little bit of context to those that don't know, I wanted a water birth. I was due on the 3rd or 4th of April, and 2 weeks before that I had a growth scan. So my midwife was kind of like, when they do these sort of graphs, I don't know what they're called, but like a growth chart, which are not 100% accurate. I can't remember the percentage, but they're not 100% accurate. And it was basically saying that I was saying 19th centile. I think it's 90th centile. So it turns out she was on the 90th centile or just under. So basically, do you know where you can see the bold lines going up or into a diagonal? They're not allowed to be out of those. So whether it's out over it or out under it, like, that's when it flags up. Now she was moving to on it, and also, yes, slightly above it at times, meaning she was measuring as slightly more big than they would have hoped. So that's why it was flagged up. it wasn't high risk, I don't think, because the faint lines above or just below the bold lines, that's when it's like high risk, from what I know. Okay, so for 2 weeks, well, 2 weeks before when we had that scan at the hospital, a doctor kind of was just like, no, you need to have your induction sooner rather than later. He wanted to get me booked in for a few days' time. I was kind of like, no, I need to see my midwife first. When they try and have a sweep first, all this. Bless you. Long story short, because I'm sure this video is going to be quite long. So grab a cup of tea or anything you need, snacks. But yes, long story short, I ended up changing my sweeps and my induction. So my sweep, I had my first sweep 3 days earlier. They was like, we can't even really get into your cervix because, can't remember why, just because baby hasn't moved that much downwards, and also, you know, everyone's tunnel to the cervix is different, and mine's posterior, I believe, with a posterior tilt or something. When I have a smear, for example, I have to sit on my knuckles to help them, which I did also do for my sweep. But yeah, the first one wasn't really that successful, but it felt like, you know, quite painful actually. But even afterwards, it felt a bit painful. And then I had my second sweep when I was meant to have my first sweep originally, which was on a week before my due date. She managed to get there, but she really, really tried. It was a different midwife. Well, it was my actual midwife because the first time wasn't my actual midwife. And then, yeah, nothing really happened. I was trying everything. If you follow me on any of my social medias, I was doing all of the exercises. I was even eating dates, which I don't like. I was eating, well, I tried a spicy pepper, which instantly regretted. I was actually, you know, I puked up a little bit after that. I tried everything to, you know, in my eyes, have everything happen a little bit more naturally. I kind of wanted to experience the whole, oh, I'm going into labour at home, and oh, you know, travelling into the hospital when the time was right, and trying to stay at home for as long as I can, to be honest. Didn't happen that way. But yes, so I ended up having my induction booked for the Sunday before the 9th of April, because she was born on the 9th of April, and I was meant to have originally have my induction on the Sunday before that. So I'm not going to work it out. A few days before that, basically, and I rang up the day before, and I was just like, I don't think I've given my body enough time. I trust my body, I trust my baby. Like, it's not the right timing. And they was lovely, and they was like, do you know what? When do you feel right doing it? And I was like, give it 4 days maybe. Let's do it on Wednesday. And they was absolutely fine. They could get me booked in. And she said, if I still feel the same on Wednesday, still go in. And it's just an offer of induction. I don't have to actually do it. So that made me feel a lot better. She was like, we'll do all of the assessments with you, and then we will see your options from there. You could choose what you want to do. You are not restricted. You do not have to go through with what we suggest. So, yeah, I think, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to do it. And I could always come home. In between all of that, who was looking after Kobe whilst I go into labour and whatnot, whenever that was to happen? I thought Kobe was going to their house, so he was always pretty much with people. But it turned out close to the induction, the actual induction, so on the Wednesday that it got changed to, close to that, it was kind of like, oh, just leave your key here, we'll pop in and out every now and then and whatnot. And I just didn't, it just didn't feel right for Kobe as well. And I was very emotional. Obviously, pregnancy hormones anyway. Feeling sorry for Kobe, feeling like things just wasn't fair because everything wasn't going to plan, even to down to doggy care for Kobe. So on the Wednesday morning, I'd kind of already made up my mind that I'm coming home. Bless you again. So I woke up and, you know, got things sorted for Kobe. Still like batch did his food, so when people came round, all they had to do was just empty his food. It was easy for them. Say I did end up going into labour or anything on the way or anything like that, but I basically was crying my eyes out, feeling bad that I was crying my eyes out because Kobe could obviously sense something was wrong with me. We left Kobe, got to the hospital, and realised that we got to the hospital an hour late because I think I thought the appointment was at 8:30 and it was actually at 7:30, or I thought it was at 9:30, it was actually at 8:30, something like that. So that's already a sign because normally I'm quite good at all of that. But anyway, we got there, waited, and then when I went into the room with our midwife for that day, again, it wasn't my usual midwife, of course, and she was a little bit like, okay, how are you feeling, all this, that, and I was like, I don't know whether I'm going to go through with it, but I just want to know all of my options. And she was like, oh, usually when you get to this appointment, it's when you are definitely going to have an induction, isn't it? Definitely when you're going to have an induction. So I already started getting dysregulated and panicked. Gonna see how this goes because she's basically going through a growth spurt and she's constantly hungry, wanting to be held, overtired. I think that's it. Irritable. So the best thing to do is just hold her and try and comfort her. So far, so good, but it might not stay that way. So we'll see. But I've got a muslin cloth over her anyway because she's just got a nappy on, which, like I say, I don't want to just put her on the screen with a nappy on. This is Paisley Rose. Where was I? Where was we? So yes, I was panicking, and then she still, like, she was lovely. She was like, you know what, I've got all day, like, for you. Ask as many questions as you need to, do the tests that you want to do. So I was kind of saying that I wanted a smear test and like just to see where we're at, and also like, yeah, like an internal, just to see if she's moved down or anything. In my eyes, I was like 3 centimeters dilated or something like that. That's what I was hoping for. She also said something about, I think it's an ECG sort of one, and I was a little bit like, I don't know about that one, because I thought it was an invasive one, but it's not. And what else did we think of? I think that was it. Just an examination and a sweep. And then, yeah, she was telling me about other options. And then we was also talking about, you know, if I want to be induced, different options for being induced. So she left us to it. She gave us as long as we needed to discuss it with each other and process things. When she came back, again, like I say, it was kind of like, okay, can we do an internal first and then a sweep, or whether that's the same thing, and then just see what our options are there. If I get induced, it's probably going to be the balloon, because she said that I could go home for 24 hours. So in my eyes, they're the only options that was happening. Anyway, for some reason, she was a little bit like, oh, don't you want to do this ECG test? That's just where it's a bit more accurate than a Doppler, where you can just measure baby's heart rate and your own heart rate. So I was like, is it an internal examination? She's like, oh, no, you just put it around your stomach and back. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. So yeah, decided to do that. If I hadn't have decided to have done that, things would have been different. But hey ho, everything happens for a reason. She's here. It was actually a positive labour, but at the time, like I say, oh, I don't know. But whilst we was waiting to go on to that machine, they brought dinner around, which was like just sandwiches, a yogurt, orange juice, stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, I'm about to go on this ECG thing. Am I allowed to eat? They was like, yeah, that should be fine. So I ate everything because I was starving, and I was just waiting. And then when they put me on the machine, she said to me basically that ideally baby's heart rate will be around 140. At the minute, it was 170 something. So that obviously made me think, okay, I've got a goal to get to here. Like, I know, and I did say to her as well before that, when I lay on my back, because that's how I was laid, I was like sometimes I am prone to fainting. Like I did faint at a midwife appointment not long ago because I was laid on my back for too long. It was quite hot in the room as well. So I was just like, oh, can I take my socks off? Like she'd already put the thing on me, but I was like, oh, can I just take my socks off, take my top off? Like I was trying to cool down a little bit. So there was that, and obviously I'd just eaten, which I knew that whenever I eat something, usually she's quite active inside my belly. So I was just trying to make her aware of this. So she was like, yeah, that's fine. So she left us to it. And I do keep looking at the machine, and I can get it down to 140, 150, but it doesn't stay there that long. And then it spikes back up to 170, blah, blah, blah. But obviously, I'm stressing because I'm trying to get it down to that. I'm also stressing because I feel like, I'd just eaten, set myself up for failure. I felt like I knew that she was okay, and I knew that I was okay, and I knew that, any little thing would make our heart rates go like higher, because they did whenever, if I was having a blood test at the midwife appointment, I'd have to have my blood pressure done again at the end, because at the beginning, even though I didn't feel stress, I was stressed knowing that I've got a blood test. So yeah, I kind of felt like this testing wasn't necessary anyway. She comes in, she's like, "Oh yeah, this isn't what we hoped for." And she was like, "Okay, we'll do it on another one." So I agreed to do it, and then they said we'll do it for half an hour. Don't really know where I left off, but if this one lets me, we'll carry on from where I think. But basically, what happened after that? That she came in and she said they've all been watching on the monitor outside, which I was unaware that that was a thing, and they all just decided that it's better that we meet baby soon, because she seems stressed in there. And I was thinking, but I don't feel like she is. And I really thought that I would be that kind of person to really put my foot down and be like, no, like, I know that I don't need to do this yet, which I knew that I didn't need to. I think because they put the fear into me, like my legs were shaking at this point because they said C-section, which I was open to having, but after like trying everything else, like the water birth, maybe an epidural, gas in ear with the water birth, I thought like it had been my last resort from trying to do it vaginally. But no, I didn't even get to try that. Yeah, so yeah, she came in saying that. I don't really remember it fully, but I've obviously heard Tom say it as well, and I do remember a lot of it. It's just because I was, not even because I had anything in my system at that point, because I didn't. But yeah, so she came in and she said, "Oh, we're going to have the doctor come and speak to you or something." Doctor came. She was kind of, telling me why and just repeating what the other woman said basically. And she said that she needs me to sign something if I confirm to do the C-section, and I had to sign something for the blood transfusion if I was to lose a lot of blood. And she and I said, "Oh, could you just explain the blood transfusion to me again? Like, what if I don't have it?" Because I just wanted to know what I didn't know. She, I can't remember how she worded it, but she basically did say like you could die. So I was like, well, I'm obviously going to sign it then. And then another man came in. He was like, "I'm going to be doing your epidural." Like, it just felt like all of the decisions had come away from me. From it went from 0 to 100 basically. From like just one woman saying, "We've got all the time in the world for you. If you've got any questions, we can take all day to answer them. Like, there's no rush." And then it went to a rush. I remember saying like, "Oh, so okay," because I think Tom had gone to get some food or something. I can remember just being like, "Oh, how long have we got until we like need to do this?" And there was like half an hour maximum. So you need to get like, he needs to get into his scrubs and all this stuff. So I'm thinking, oh my god, like half an hour including getting down there. And then other people came in. I had this nurse like holding my hand, a nurse putting a catheter thing in, not a catheter, like the hand thing in, just in case I needed some quick fire medication. I don't know. That actually was what hurt the most out of the whole C-section, out of everything like that. It was that hurt the most. And then I don't know if they put a cannula, catheter, whatever the wee thing is, in at that point. I think they put that in after my epidural went in, which didn't go in until I was down in the room. But yeah, so from then there was kind of like, okay, we need to pull you down there. So like I had like, I don't know how many, it would have been at least 4 or 5 like doctors and stuff with me at that point. And then obviously Tom. Then Tom had to wait, like before going into the room, he had to wait until I had my epidural in, which I did not like at all, because obviously you hear horror stories about an epidural, you can't move, it can paralyze you. And I feel like I just needed him to be there for, I don't know, to take my mind off it and whatnot. but I got put onto a bed, like the actual bed that it was going to happen on. So yeah, and there was like, again, more doctors and nurses and midwives there, all there for different things, talking about what they was doing and whatnot. It was, they may as well not have been speaking to me, because I was that panicked about what was going to happen. I wasn't really listening. At that point I was like, well, I'm not going to say no to anything, because I've already said yes to a C-section, which I thought I'd say no to at that point. So everything was just kind of going over my head at this point, and I was just thinking, where's Tom? Anyway, they sat me up to do the epidural, and okay, the camera angle may have slightly changed because Tom's come in and taken Kobe for a walk for us, even though we're going to probably go for a family walk later. But yeah, and then yeah, she is happy to be down now, and I've fed her a little bit more. She's like almost cluster feeding at the minute because of the growth spurt, I believe. But yeah, I'm sure she'll be in my arms at some point soon again. But for now, we're talking as we started. So yes, when I got put onto the bed and I was about to have my epidural put in, the nurse in front of me, she kind of put two fingers there for my blood pressure and whatnot. But because she was, I thought she must have thought, oh, you know, she could really use a hand. She's not got a partner here at this moment in time because he's been asked to wait outside while she has her epidural put in. So I go to hold her hand and she's there like that, and then I realise that's what she's doing. So then I let go. So I think I'm technically holding her wrist because her fingers are on my wrist. And then she obviously notices that I realise, and I'm like, oh, kind of thing. And then she's like, you can hold my hand if you want to. So I was like, yeah. And I was like, I just don't want to move. I don't want to move. And then she was like, honestly, you find, bearing in mind my legs and arms are shaking at this point, even my whole body is shaking at this point. Everyone knows how nervous I am. Anyway, she was like, they put a little needle in first. I think that's basically to help with the epidural going in, and then they'll put the epidural in, which is slightly bigger. So I was like, okay. And then when he told me that they were going to put the epidural in, I like go to hug her because I just thought, you know what, you're lovely, you're letting me hold your hand, I'm gonna hug you because this is what I do with Tom, and she can stop me from moving if need be. But before that, like whilst I'm waiting for bits to be done and whatnot, another girl comes up to me that's working there within that room within my C-section, and she goes, why do I recognise you? And I look at her and I'm thinking, I don't want to think about this right now, but then I'm thinking also, yeah, I do recognise you. But I was like, oh, I don't know, like trying to be polite but also still nervous, I can't hide it. Also thinking, blooming heck, where does she know me from? Like, what if she's an old client from, but with my therapy work or something? She's not, obviously. I would remember, and it's kids anyway. So, but it's just a worry that I had. And she was like, oh yeah, I used to do some of your fitness classes at the studios that I used to work at. And as soon as she said that, I was like, yeah, you did. And I was like, oh, small world, I bet you didn't think you'd see me like this, did you? And she just laughed. She was like, you'll be fine. So that was like nice because it was a friendly face while Tom wasn't there, like a familiar face. But it was also like, oh God, what are you gonna see? Like, obviously, I know you see it all the time, and they're not gonna say anything. But yeah, that's funny. Everywhere I go, I guess there's someone that knows of me, and I know of them and stuff. Like, that sounds weird, doesn't it? You know what I mean. And we're back in the arms. But yeah, so while he was putting the epidural in, it didn't hurt. It just felt, good girl. It just felt like something was being pushed further down my right side of my spine. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this is fine, but is he going to have to do the same thing on the left side? He didn't. But because I could only really feel it on the right side, I was thinking, obviously he's got to even it out, but he didn't. Anyway, after he put it in, he was like, well done. He was like, you're the best epidural that I've ever put in. I believed it at the time, and I believed it after. Saying it out loud now, I don't know whether he was just trying to make me feel better. I don't know. But yeah, then I had to lay down, and then Tom was on my left side, and there was other doctors there. Tom was of course joking with doctors as well. Like all I could hear was a doctor say to Tom something like, don't touch anything that's blue, or you can touch anything that's blue apart from me, or something like that, or including me. I don't know. They had some sort of bromance going on, because Tom said something like, oh well, I can't remember, but he made some sort of joke anyway, and I'm thinking, of course he's making jokes. Anyway, then they kind of put a screen up, I guess, like, so I can't see past my chest, so it's stopping me from seeing past my chest. And then they put like a blanket over mine and Tom's heads, if that makes any sense. And oh dear. And then so basically it's quite nice because me and Tom kind of have our own little private tent up. We can hear what's going on down below. We've got a doctor up above my head as well, I think. But then yeah, it's mainly me and Tom. And me and Tom, I mean, Tom starts making jokes, which I thought, my idea of how my labour was going to be is it's going to be like a slower but, you know, pleasant sort of start, because I'll have a water birth, and we'd be playing games like the A to Z game, like in Disney or in Baby Names or whatever. I thought that's how it was going to go. I thought we'd be playing music and he'd be dancing about, and I'd be kind of just like singing along or whatnot. No, it wasn't anything like that. But Tom did try and make jokes, which I appreciate, because that's what I wanted. That's what our relationship can be like, especially when it gets a bit serious. But at that time, no, because it was a C-section, which wasn't necessarily the plan. And he's making jokes like, oh, what did someone say? Oh, I wish he was here now to say it. Okay, we might try and carry on while she's quiet, happy like this. So yeah, Tom made some sort of joke like, I don't know, someone said, oh, can you hear me? Because maybe they had to have earmuffs on or something, I don't know. But someone on the team says, can you hear me? And Tom was like, what? And I was like, there was another joke as well. I just thought to myself, no, because he's going to put them off. So I basically was like, stop joking around, just talk to me, sort of thing. Like I bit at him a little bit, and he like laughed, and then he started talking to me more. Yeah, so it was quite nice actually, because me and Tom had our little moment together. And in terms of the actual C-section happening, but before that, actually, see, this is how I should have written it down, and I want to write it down anyway to like put in my pregnancy sort of memory box. But anyway, before I kind of like, me and Tom had that screen between, like from my chest downwards, and the blanket over our heads kind of thing. I just had my epidural put in and laid down, and Tom was next to me. That's the first time I saw him since being told I was having a C-section and going now. But I remember, so they obviously wanted to check that my epidural started to work. So what they did was, I was laid down, and they did something to the top of my leg, like maybe pinched it or something, I don't know. Oh no, they asked me if I could lift my legs up like one at a time. So I tried to, and I couldn't, and I knew I couldn't. But I said to them, but I think if I really tried, I'd be able to, because I was panicked that it wasn't fully working yet, and they was going to cut into me and I was going to feel it. I was so worried. I was like, it's not working yet, it's not working yet, I need a little bit longer. And he was like, no, like you will feel stuff, but it just won't hurt. And then they were like spraying cold spray near like my ribs and on my stomach, and there was like, you should feel a little bit of a sensation, but you know, what does it feel like? And I was just like yeah, liquid. And it was like, okay, but it doesn't feel cold. And I was like, no. And it was like, okay, like we're fine to go, or something like that. I could feel them inserting things and rummaging around and whatnot, but it didn't hurt. And I could also hear them having normal conversations as well. So I thought, well, it can't be going wrong if they're having a normal conversation about what did you do last night, kind of thing. I don't know. It was a lovely team, lovely towards me and lovely with each other as well. So yeah, and then I just remember me and Tom like, okay, if this isn't the biggest jump scare or Instagram versus reality situation, I don't know what is. But basically, I finished the video yesterday and went to edit it last night, and from where I am starting now, there's just no voice to it. The sound's gone. I think the mic basically died. I have charged it. I've only charged it for an hour, so I need to speak quick because chances are it's not 100% charged. So we're just going to pick up from where we started. I'm not going to do what I would have done pre mum life, which would have been just to refilm everything all over again, or even put makeup on and, you know, feel a little bit better. I'm running a bath, so this is my timer. Picking up where we left off, however you want to say that terminology, I remember Tom basically saying about, oh, any second now we'll hear a baby cry. And I was like, no, not yet. Like, we've only been in there a few minutes, in the sense of the actual procedure happening, the actual C-section happening. And he was like, yeah. And then I just like felt a tugging, heard one of the doctors say, okay, the baby's out. We didn't hear a cry, but it was nothing alarming. And as they was carrying her over to the area where they clean her up and stuff, they said, okay, baby's out. And just before I saw her there, as we like turned our head to see where the voice was that said that, we heard her cry. And then the doctor that was kind of having a bit of joke bromance with Tom was like, all right, you come over here. So he goes over to look at her. The first thing I hear Tom say is, Shauna, her eyes. So I was like, oh, she's got nice eyes. That's nice. I'm like at a distance, so I can just really see. I can't even really see the baby that well because they've cleaned her up and they've put a hat on her and a towel around her to keep her warm. So I can't really see her. I can see that she's not small, but that's all I can see really. I saw a little bit of hair as well, so I knew that she had hair. But yeah, all I'm doing really is whilst getting stitched back up and hearing their conversation down below, I can just see Tom and the baby. And I thought it's nice because they're bonding and I've had these 9 months. And then the doctor's like, right, are you going to cut the umbilical cord? And Tom was like, no, no, no. He's a bit squeamish, but the doctor was like, come on, like it's a good job they had that little like banter at the beginning because I think that's what spruced Tom to do it. I wish that he was here now to be able to say how it felt for him. Maybe we'll get like that into a Q&A or something at some point. He said it was like cutting through squid or something like that, but I'll let him elaborate at some point, I'm sure. But yeah, he did it. I'm so proud of him. And I don't think anyone in any of our families have done it, either because, you know, like my granddad said that he wasn't even in the room because obviously with my nonna, it was a long, long time ago. So I don't think back then they was allowed in the rooms with them. Um, and then my mum, I just don't think any of them were up to doing it. And Tom wasn't up to doing it. But from this doctor, it just, yeah, spruced him on a little bit. And another reason why I really love the hospital team, the birthing team that I had anyway, is because again, I think it was the same doctor was like, "Do you have a phone?" And Tom had his phone, luckily, and they were just taking pictures. They were taking pictures of Tom cutting the umbilical cord, which was great because I couldn't do it, and you know, wouldn't have thought to have done it anyway. And then after he did the umbilical cord and they kind of did whatever they needed to do, Tom came back round to my left side. I'm still getting stitched up and whatnot. That was probably the longest part. And they brought baby around onto my chest, and then me, Tom, and baby had some pictures as well, which was nice. And again, we wouldn't have thought to have done that. So I'm really happy that we had the team that we did and everything like that. Um, whilst Tom was with the baby and doing whatever he was doing, because that did take a while to clean them up and like he saw her get weighed and stuff. Um, the doctor that came into the room where I was having the ECG sort of test and whatnot, when she came back to me, because she was in that room, she was basically saying how they don't really know why the machine was saying that baby's heart rate is quite high and stuff. Her heart rate is completely fine now, so is mine. So I could have technically had, or tried at least, a vaginal birth. and a water birth. But these things happen, and it's better to be safe. And this delivery went really well. It was really smooth. And if I had another baby and wanted to do a vaginal birth, I could go for a vaginal birth, because I think sometimes, and this is what I thought anyway, sometimes with, if you have a C-section, I thought you always had to have a C-section for the rest of your babies. Maybe that is the case in some situations, but she confirmed that it's not the case with me, the next time at least. So yeah, it's bittersweet, because to be honest, that's what I think made it a positive labour, because it was just so quick. Even the healing process seems to be fine. I'm still healing, but yeah, I can go into depth with that another time if you have any questions on that or want me to do a video on that. But yeah, and then Tom and the baby went to another room, which I was going to meet them at later on, but once I got stitched up, that's when they wheeled me to the other room, and the midwife that I was like holding on to was there with Tom, and that was really just to make sure that like I had feeling back in my legs at some point. They cleaned me up a little bit. I think they was doing like logging information about me and the baby, but they was asking Tom that. And then we got wheels to the room that we was in for 24 hours, had to stay in for 24 hours, and then got discharged. So again, I thought I'd have to be in for at least a week with a C-section. As long as it's not complicated, as long as it was a smooth delivery and whatnot, and the wounds looking okay, I guess, as long as you can wee, and you know, I had to wee a certain amount, within like 6 hours, I think it is, then you can get discharged and go home. So that was lovely. We was lucky with that. The last thing I'm going to say, I am mindful that I'm speaking very quick, but it's because my bath's running and I'm worried about the mic playing up again or dying again. And yeah, also I just am aware that I look like a potato. But my granddad's partner got us this, so I think she got us the owl, and then she used to have an embroidered company that she only just retired from last year, not even a year ago. So she still does it for fun basically, and helps get the buttons off of my clothes and put press studs on and stuff for me, but also for the baby now. But it was nice that she did this. It's Paisley Rose with the hyphen and Parker. And then she's also made it more personal with the £8.15 ounces, which is what she came out and weighed as. How mad. Now I made a boo-boo here. She asked me what time she was born. It was 2:44, not 2:42, but we'll keep that between ourselves. And on the 9th of April 2025. So I just thought that was really nice, and I wanted to show that as an idea. If you know anybody that does embroidery or want to just get someone a nice gift for when they have their baby or any other sort of celebration. But I'm going to leave this video here because storage is full and I've got the hiccups. I'm sorry, I've tried to record this last bit a good few times now and my bath is waiting. So thank you so much for clicking onto this video. If you made it until the end, please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. I'm just going to keep going with it. It's hiccups, I promise it's not burps. But subscribe if you haven't already. It's not going to be just baby content or mother content. It's still going to be just lifestyle, just my life basically. But it's not just going to be mother and baby. And yes, I will see you next week hopefully for a brand new video, and hopefully the mic doesn't die and I don't have the hiccups. Bye bye.